He was really sweet to me. He said to Speaker Johnson, he goes, okay, you got one more seat. You need to be tougher. He saw me. I was sitting back a little ways. He saw me in there and he was like, hello, Marjorie. He's always so sweet and recognizes me. And he said, are you being nice? He was joking. Are you being nice to Speaker Johnson? And I said, eh. And he said, okay, be nice to him. And I nodded my head.
We'll return to the stuff about Speaker Mike Johnson, but that is Congresswoman Marjorie Greene fangirling out because Donald Trump recognized her. Like they met once. You're a congresswoman, you've been on the campaign trail with him. It would be weird if he didn't recognize you, or deeply troubling about the state of his brain, but he did. And he recognized the trouble that she's presented to the GOP because, of course, as was said by Congresswoman Greene there, he asked her if she was being nice to Mike Johnson. That apparently drew a round of laughter from the Republicans. There was apparently an eruption of laughter, according to tweets. I don't know if that's like joy at Mike Johnson having the trouble, or them knowingly acknowledging that she's a massive troublemaker that makes their job harder on a daily basis. I'm not sure.
Thanks for watching. Our audience has helped build TYT into the media giant it is today. Together, we can accomplish anything. Support our work and join us at tyt.com/team.
Those sorts of comments on Twitter about it, she doesn't think that that's a fair way to characterize the interaction that she had with President Trump. And so she went on a novel-length rant on Twitter about what he had said. And I'm going to read it, not all of it, there's a lot, but nothing's worse than a reporter that only reports half the story. She left off all the nice compliments President Trump said about me to our conference. President Trump is right. I'm loyal and unapologetically support him everywhere and all the time, and I am capable. That's why I'll be nice to Johnson as long as he's nice to my favorite president. Was this written by a second grader? Am I being unfair? Is it mean to point out that she is speaking like a child about their favorite puppy? It is a congresswoman talking about the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party, and she's talking about how nice his compliments are, and I'm loyal everywhere and all the time. And then she goes on to talk about how thrilled she is to hear that he's going to eliminate the income tax and instead replace it with tariffs that will be a massive tax on the poorest and even middle class in America. I'm not gonna criticize her too much on that. There is absolutely no way that she understands the effect of that policy change. She goes on to say, President Trump is committed to winning the White House, the Senate, and the House. This is one of the best speeches I've ever heard, okay? And apparently he got a standing ovation after standing ovation. He was talking to the Republicans in the House, all of whom owe the entirety of their career to his continued support of them. The fact that they stood and cheered for him is about as meaningful as shows of support for a North Korean dictator from bureaucrats there. Yeah, they don't want to be murdered. That doesn't mean they actually love the guy. And by the way, we know from their leaks and their off the record comments that most of them can't stand his guts. But this is what happens when you replace a party with a cult. It descends to these embarrassing levels. Cenk, what do you think?
Yeah, so I was curious about the video because I read that she was fawning in her praise of Trump, but clearly Trump, put her down. Yeah, he noted her presence and then basically told her, cut the crap out and stop attacking Mike Johnson. That's the thrust of his message to Marjorie Greene. So I was wondering if she was faking it or if she really is like a pathetic little fangirl. And my read of that video, you guys can come to your own conclusion because we just showed it to you. But my read of it was, she's actually a pathetic fangirl. She's like, oh my God, he said my name. I mean, look, to be fair, she sounds like me when I was in 4th grade and Carrie, gave me a Valentine's card like she did to everyone in class, but she wrote love. And I was like, does she love me? Does she love me? I have such a crush on her.
Just quickly, it's the scene in Mean Girls. It's like the day was November 5th and he turned around and he was like, what's today's date or whatever, like and she might as well have been in a girl's bathroom being like, and then he said, and then I said, and then he said, but he was like, your eyes are green and they match your sweatshirt, but my eyes are actually blue, and but it didn't matter. Like that was the level. It's just like, it was so embarrassing. Like comport yourself a little bit like a congresswoman. Just be like, yes, and we're gonna get this done. Like do what Marge Page does. But I think she's, sorry to interrupt, Cenk, but I think she's making up for the fact that she's not on the short list for Veeps. So.
That's true.
Yeah, that's definitely got a sting. Yeah, look, guys, you see us. We like Bernie Sanders. Everybody knows we like Bernie Sanders. And you have a nice interaction with him. God bless. That's a fun thing to report. So we're not trying to be jerks about it. But if Bernie Sanders called me out and said, stop criticizing AOC, right? I wouldn't be like, oh my God, I saw Bernie. Bernie said something about me. I'd be like, no, I don't agree.
Yeah.
Like the things I agree with, great. The things I don't agree with, I don't, by definition, I don't. Why do I have to cower? And like, they're so servile, it's so sad. And to John's point, I'm just gonna reread one sentence. I'm loyal and unapologetically support him everywhere and all the time. Okay, so you have no mind of your own. You're not an independent human being. You're just a sad little puppet of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I support him everywhere and all the time. Well, what if he said, all right, we're gonna get rid of all guns? I mean, he's the one who passed the bump stock regulation at the ATF, et cetera. What if he says, I don't believe in the Second Amendment, I'm burning it, right? It doesn't matter, Donald Trump. Okay, yeah, I mean, how do we take you seriously? And then, by the way, and then the end of that sentence, and I'm capable. What is that?
She's good enough, she's smart enough, and doggone it, people like her.
Yeah, that's literal, I thought the same thing, Stuart Smalley over here.
Yeah.
And I'm capable of taking what little brain cells I have and letting Donald Trump have them.
But I'd like to re-up what you said though. That was his bump stock ban. So Marge, you support him. You should be sponsoring the legislation to put back into effect one of the only things he did in office. And by the way, look,
or Operation Warp Speed, or rolling out the vaccine.
Well, yeah, she doesn't support Operation Warp Speed, obviously. So there's a little bit of a gap in what she said there. But look, we're mocking her because she's very, very mockable and also awful. And also, your Bernie thing isn't exactly the same thing because Bernie doesn't go around, threatening or advocating for mass murder against people. He didn't just lose a hush money case for an affair he had on his wife. He wasn't found earlier this year to have sexually abused Jean Carroll. Like her fangirling over a monster walking around is way worse than us fangirling over like Ilhan Omar or something. But look, the reason that I want to mock her coming out of that meeting is it's not that she likes a politician on her side. That's fine. They can like politicians. It's that meeting was a clown show. Like reports from it say that he couldn't follow what he was saying. He was all over the place. He's making wild claims that Nancy Pelosi's daughter is saying that in some alternate life, Trump and Pelosi could have hooked up or something. He's making wild claims about tariffs paying for everything that the United States government needs. It's just nonsense upon nonsense. He's smearing, as we'll get to, the city that the RNC is gonna be held in. Like it's one thing if he came in and delivered a killer speech and raised morale and maybe pledged to stop putting forward horrible candidates for Senate seats that dooms the Republicans' chance to take over that chamber, then sure, fangirl. But when it was the same sort of nonsensical, substance-free BS-ery that he always delivers, that sort of fangirling performance makes very little sense. That's my only point.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I think Trump's insanity is baked in. So you know me, I'm a huge critic of Biden and his failing mental, faculties. But Trump is failing just as hard. He's just melting in front of the cameras.
Yeah.
But but I was gonna say the difference. Actually, there isn't a difference, to be honest, because the MAGA people, anywhere from actual voters to Marjorie Taylor Greene, go, I don't see the clown show. I think that was Professor Trump that just walked in. He looked very sophisticated. And then to be honest, Biden voters are like, I don't see that he's old. He looks like a dynamo to me.
No, they were saying he was old. They were saying he was old until he started, throwing down with genocide. And now they're like, oh, he's great. What? But like, even Ezra Klein and like Nate Silver and all these people are like, I think we need a better candidate. So I just wanna, I think they pivoted on the old thing when people had legitimate concerns, like stop selling weapons to, war criminals. But on the Trump thing, it doesn't matter, guys. This is lipstick on a pig, even more so than it was in 2016. All they want is their Trojan horse for their tax breaks. That is it, period, full stop, right?
Yeah.
Like tariffs, this, that. First of all, they're not gonna allow whatever like harebrained scheme he has to like supposedly center the American worker, even though he's so anti-union, it like hurts, right? But it's just about them. It's just about them, their tax write-offs, being able to write another PJ off, right? I still can't get over that you can write off a $60 million plane. End of story. No matter how much lipstick they need.
I didn't realize you were talking about private jets. I thought that was a Beetlejuice reference. But anyway, and to that point, never forget, Marjorie Greene is a simpleton, 100%. She's also got tens of millions of dollars. Like, she wants those tax cuts as much as any other deranged millionaire or billionaire does.
If you enjoyed this video, that's because of our members. They make us independent, they make us strong, and they make us honest. Become a member today by hitting the join button below.